Good afternoon and welcome. The League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and Metro Cable Channel 14 are pleased to bring you this forum featuring candidates for Sacramento City Council District Number 5, running for the June 8th primary election. District 5 encompasses 19 different neighborhoods, including Oak Park, Hollywood Park, Curtis Park, and too many more to mention. My name is Suzanne Finney. I am a member of the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and the moderator for this forum. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, nonprofit organization of men and women that encourages citizens to be informed and to participate in government at all levels. The League does not support or oppose any candidate or political party. Rather, the League provides information and moderates candidate forums such as this to help voters learn about candidates, issues, and to make more informed choices at the polls. This forum is being viewed live by an audience in the Sacramento Board of Supervisors chambers and by viewers at home. It is also being taped for rebroadcast on Metro Cable Channel 14. The format for today's forum will be as follows. Each candidate will make a 1.5-minute opening statement. Next, the candidates will respond to questions from our panel. The questions were submitted by the panelists and reviewed by League members. Each candidate will have 1 minute to respond to the question, and all candidates will respond to each question. Finally, the candidates will have 1 minute to make a closing statement. Now, it's my pleasure to introduce our candidates for Sacramento City Council District Number 5. To my far right is Henry Harry. Then we have Patrick Kennedy. To my immediate right, Jay Chenier. And to my left, Leticia Hilbert. Thank you very much for being here. And now our panelists. We have Cosmo Garvin with the Sacramento News and Review. We have Perry Hartline, Messenger Publishing Group, and Pia Lopez with the Sacramento Bee. Thank you very much for being here. Now, with that, we are ready to begin with our opening statements. The candidates have drawn straws for who goes first, second, third, and fourth, so we will just proceed in that order. So our first opening statement will be given by Henry Harry.
Thank you, and thank the League for having me here. My name is Henry Harry. I'm a 14-year veteran with the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department. I'm a homeowner in Oak Park. For the last several years, I've been fighting for kids and fighting for social justice. I'm a founding member of the Oak Park Foundation, and we help kids in that neighborhood. And I was one of the officers who stood up in the department and pushed the Board of Supervisors and the Sheriff's Department to do more about so many kids who are being killed in South Sacramento. You know, beneath the skyline and past the Kings and past the strong mayor issues, we have some real problems in this city. You know, our schools are failing our kids. For some groups, 34.9% are dropping out. And the school is acknowledging that there is about an education gap that is going to take 42 years to close if something extraordinary is not done. So we have real problems with gangs and crime, and I've worked on those issues. As a law enforcement officer, I implemented a 57-page crime plan for South Sacramento that brought down crime, so I know that we can do more. And again, beneath this skyline, we have healthcare and incarceration disparities that we must deal with. If I'm elected, I want to bring transparency to the City Council. I want the police chief and the city manager and a host of other department heads to answer questions from the City Council chambers, two-way exchange between the citizens and those department heads, and I think you'll see some changes overnight. And lastly, I want to keep staffing high in the police department, and I want to implement some prevention programs through a program that I've worked with before, I should say, that I know that works, and that is the OK Kids program, and I've mentioned that at City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next opening statement will be given by Patrick Kennedy.
Thank you, Suzanne, and thank you to the League. I've been working in the neighborhoods of the 5th District for 20 years. I proudly served as the Hollywood Park Neighborhood Improvement Association president when we were ridding our streets of drugs and gangs back in the early 90s. I served on the Oak Park Project Area Committee, appointed by then City Councilman Joe Cerna. I then moved to Hollywood Park, where Councilman Cerna recruited me to start the Hollywood Park Neighborhood Association, and I served as the first president of that neighborhood association for 3 years. Following that, I served on the City Planning Commission during times of unprecedented growth in Sacramento. Now I'm the representative of most of this district on the Sacramento City School Board. I know these neighbors, I know the issues of these neighborhoods. I want to take that experience from the neighborhoods to City Hall. I want to bring civility back to City Hall and professionalism back to politics. That's why I'm running for City Council. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next opening statement will be provided by Jay Chenier.
Thank you, Suzanne, and I also want to thank the League for doing this. I've lived in Sacramento now for almost 30 years, been married for 26, and have two sons, 18 and 16, both at McClatchy High School, both products of the public school system here in Sacramento. I've done a lot of different things here in Sacramento. I spent 2 years running the food bank in Oak Park, 8 years on the school board. I've run my own business for 18 years, 2 years as an assistant secretary of education for the state of California. I think what that does is it gives me a comprehensive view of the world that I bring to look at issues that are important and ask what's best for Sacramento when we talk about these issues. I made the decision to run for city council about 1.5 years ago and thought at that time it needed to be a grassroots campaign. Over the last 14 months or so, I've walked the districts, I've walked all 19 neighborhoods that Suzanne mentioned. I've knocked on over 13,000 doors. What I've found is that people don't trust city government right now. What we need is an effective, efficient, and transparent government, one that serves the needs of the people. We're going to talk about specific issues as we move forward over the next hour or so, but what I want to do here and what I want to talk about here are the important things that Sacramento needs. How do we bring jobs back to this community? How do we take care of our young people? And how do we keep our neighborhoods strong? If we don't continue to support our neighborhoods as we've done in the past, it really won't matter what happens on K Street or anywhere else downtown. Thank you.
Thank you. And our final opening statement will be provided by Leticia Hilbert.
Hi, thank you, Susan. I want to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity to be able to speak to you, the voter. Thank you very much. And thank you to the panel as well. I have lived in Sacramento for 9 years. I've been a wife for 26 years and mother of 3 children. And I'm also a worker from 9 to 5. I believe in the dignity of all people and that we are all entitled to live in a clean and safe area, in a clean and safe neighborhood. That's why I'm running for city council, because there are things that are not going well. Our streets are unsafe, and we have to change that. We have to focus on youth. Our youth need special attention. We have to empower them, so they need they need to know their obligation as members of the community, and they have to take action. And I'm also convinced that small businesses in our district can thrive. We just have to invest in them, giving attention to those business owners so they can have more employees. And it would be an honor for me if you decide to elect me as city council, and I would work together with you in all the neighborhoods in the area to be successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll move to the question and answer portion of our forum. Cosmo, could you direct the first question to Patrick, please?
Sure. Patrick, what would you do to close, the city's proposed budget just came out yesterday, and there's a $43-odd million shortfall there. What would you do to close that gap? And I'm looking for some specific revenue ideas, and also to comment on the possible proposal to tax medical marijuana dispensaries.
I'm sorry, what was the last part?
The possibility of taxing medical marijuana.
Yes, thank you. As far as the budget gap goes, first thing that we need to do, and I supported wholeheartedly the independent auditor to come in and take a look at the budget. We need to have that line by line open, looking at the budget and see where we're wasting money right now and where we could tighten up. And there are areas in which we can. Some of the things that we can do are also efficiencies through technology, particularly in law enforcement. There's a lot of things that we're not doing that we could be doing better that other communities are doing. I also, as far as revenue enhancement, there's a number of things that I would look at. One of them, how about a franchise fee for commercial waste disposal? Currently, you'll have an alley in Sacramento with 5 different cans and 5 trucks goes down it every day. That's not good for our air quality. It's not good for our roads, and it doesn't help us recoup any money. We also need to look at things like fees and raising money through cell towers on public property. We can do things like that more creatively than we've done in the past to help cut that shortfall.
Thank you. Jay?
So first of all, I think we're not quite sure what we want to be when we grow up as a city. And without having that vision, it makes it really difficult to set priorities and then budget against those priorities. So the first thing I think is what we need to do is the city council and the mayor need to come together around a vision. I would also like to see a public process that goes through. I think Sac City Unified did a really good job closing their budget gap of $30 million by going out with a public survey, an online survey that 11,000 parents answered. And that helped set those priorities. I also think it's incredibly important for us to look at cooperation and collaboration with other city governments in the area, with the county government, with community-based organizations. What people want are services, and services provided effectively and efficiently. So I don't know that the normal person or the regular person on the street knows if it's the city that's providing it, if it's the county, but what we need to do is see who can do those most effectively and most efficiently, and then collaborate with those other governments and other non-governmental organizations to make sure we're doing the very best job.
Thank you. Leticia?
Yes, thank you. You asked for ideas on how to increase the revenue. I think that we could definitely tax the marijuana. I think just for medical purposes, of course, have it available and tax it. And we should also tax the alcohol and the tobacco. I know they're already taxed, but I mean, those are luxuries. And we should we should go to the basics first. People is what matters, and laying off people to save money, I don't think it's the way to go. I think we have to put people first and continue providing the services and tax luxuries. Thank you.
Thank you. Henry?
Thank you. Things that I would cut are some things that I've already enumerated and we've talked about. First, you look to regionalization, some of those programs that are overlapping that we can do together. For example, boats. I know that the Sheriff's Department has boats, the city has boats, and we don't need that many boats. We simply need to work together. Additionally, I said we'd cut parks. Unfortunately, across the country, you see cities are cutting parks. It's not something I want to do, but it's something that I would do. I noted that we should reduce the take-home cars, and I see that the city has come out with that as one of its strategies for cutting. It's going to save about, I think, $3.5 million. We can delay some of the contracts that we have with people and maybe even eliminate some of those contracts where we can. With regards to the marijuana issue, I am not in favor of taxing it. If it is truly a medication, then no one taxes me when I need Vicodin. So if we're looking at this as truly a medication, we shouldn't tax it, and we should look for additional ways to get revenue. Some of those additional ways to get revenue, like other cities across California. I'm sorry.
Henry, I'll remind our candidates that we are timing you. Perry, can you direct your question to Jay, please?
To Jay.
Thank you.
Well, all candidates will answer, but he'll start first.
Jay, you were mentioning transparency in your opening statement. And the question is, why isn't it transparent now? And there is a problem, because I think we're aware of what happened with the planning scandal. And those
I'm sorry, we're aware of
the planning scandal where the
Yes.
35
Thank you.
homes were built and somehow or another it got through. Now, if FEMA accepts the 35 homes, okay, we'll probably be in good shape. But if they don't, the insurance for everyone in that area is going to detonate. First, how did this happen? Why did it happen? And what can you do about it?
Well, it's certainly a lack of management. not at the council, a lack of oversight, a lack of audits, a lack of management, and those are all things that we need to do. We're in a position now where the city will be taking up a search for a new city manager. And I believe that we need to make management one of the main characteristics in how we look and what we look for in a new city manager. I do think that we should be doing regular audits of all the departments. That was certainly something that we were not doing, and I assume that's how this got by the scales. So I think it's those conversations that we need to be having. It's the council asking the right questions. It's people with business experience at the council being able to go in and ask those deeper questions to understand what's happening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Leticia.
Yes, thank you. I think that, again, what's happening is that there are favors that are being paid, and sometimes situations overlooked. I think we have to go again back to the people. There are people that are being put in risk in those houses where they shouldn't have been built in the first place. So we have to look at the needs of the people and not serve special interests. I think that's very important. We have to work for the people, because those are you are who elect me, who elect us. Thank you.
Thank you. Henry.
Thank you. This goes just to what I had been talking about at the beginning of this campaign. If you had the city manager and the police chief and other department heads accountable in two-way communication with citizens from time to time, I believe you would avoid these scandals or uncover them more quickly. Now, you have the permit scandal, you have the water meter scandal. SHRA gave money to unfit contractors, and he skedaddled. You have a Nestle water deal that comes about, and city council folks say, hey, I was blindsided by this. I didn't know that this was coming. And so I think that if you have a police chief, a city manager who stands here and says, this is what's going on in our city, two-way exchange of information, and I'd have to say a city council person that fosters a demeanor that allows the information to come to them from within. I've worked in government. There are people out there, they want to tell their stories. And if you can foster that and have that two-way communication between those department heads, you will avoid these types of issues.
Thank you. And Patrick.
You know, as a school board member now, one of the hardest jobs and one of the most important things that we've done recently was hire a new superintendent. Well, I'm stepping into the city council under the same circumstances, basically, and hiring a new city manager. And we need to do it the same way that we did it then. We need to ask those hard questions. We need to look at accountability. That transparency and accountability go hand in hand. They have to for the public trust. We have to be able to hold our city manager accountable, and we can do that by laying out very clear expectations, very clear results that we want to see from that city manager, and regularly monitor those results, monitor what they're doing to meet those results. We're changing the way we're doing business at the school board. We need to change the way we're doing business at the city council level as well.
Thank you. Pia, your question will be answered first by Leticia.
Leticia, all of you have mentioned schools and youth as a top priority. Two members have been on the school board. One has worked with schools in the sheriff's department, and you mentioned youth as an issue. You have some struggling neighborhoods in your district. What one or two things really sets you above the rest in this crowded field that has no incumbent when it comes to youth issues?
Thank you, Pia. Well, the first thing is that I'm a mother, and my children, the three of them, have studied in Hiram Johnson, and I can see it's very difficult for them. The two first one have graduated already and went on to higher education, and I'm very proud of them. But I do think that they were not ready when they came out of Hiram Johnson. And we need to get kids ready to be able to participate either in their higher education or in the workforce. So I have also been a youth counselor, a leader, and I have worked with many of them, and I think that what happens is that our children are losing their way. They do not know that they have an essential part in the community, and we have to let them know that, and we have to work hard for them, with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Henry?
First, let me say that, a lot of our kids are doing well, but there are groups of kids that are driving these problems, and that's who we need to focus on. And I've been on the streets as an officer. I've seen the horror of folks who've lost one or two kids to violence. I see it in our jail system when we see so many of these young folks who didn't get an education. They're trapped into a life that is taking them to prison. And some of these kids are going to prison for nothing more than they wanted to earn $200, so they decided to rob folks. And our society has failed to give them something more. Even in the midst of this campaign, I mentored 3 at-risk kids at a continuation school. Why? Because someone has to. Those kids are already on their way to failure, and I'm trying to be that bright spot. I've worked in the Oak Park Foundation, as I said in my opening, for years. That's what I've been doing, working with kids, trying to move them to the right direction. With a little bit of love and some great role modeling, these kids will be okay.
Thank you. Patrick?
Yeah, I too, as a father of 4 daughters, the youngest of which goes to McClatchy High School and serves on the youth commission for the city, and as a school board member, youth issues have always are at the top of my list of importance. We have to look at our youth, and we have to invest in our youth if our city is going to go forward in any way that we want to see it go forward in. I've done that as a school board member. I've done that as a community leader. I've done that as a father and a parent volunteer at their schools. Every dollar that we don't invest in children, we're going to invest down the road in incarceration. We're going to invest in unemployment. If this city is going to be great, we talk about moving jobs to Sacramento. Well, what's one of the things that we look at for jobs in Sacramento? Before a company moves here, they look at 2 things. They look at school and they look at crime rates. They look at our schools and our crime rates. If we don't work as a city with our school district to do a better job of partnering in before school programs, after school programs, and the like, then our city is not going to move forward how we want to see it.
Thank you. Jay?
I agree that if we don't provide the tools and resources that our young people need to succeed, we're devastating our own future here. I've been working on this issue for 17 years. This is where my heart is. 8 years on the school board. When I got off the school board, I was asked by Mayor Fargo at the time to run a commission on youth for the city. We developed a framework that the city adopted, the council unanimously adopted, around safe places for young people to be when they're not in school, civic engagement and jobs and internships. That also led to the creation of the Office of Youth Development within the city. I run a teen leadership program for 8 years as a volunteer. I've raised $25,000 a year or so to take 25 to 30 young people out to the wilderness for 4 days every year and teach them leadership skills and bring them back into the community. I was on the board of the Sacramento Children's Home. When I ran the Sacramento Food Bank in Oak Park, we had a lot of youth programs. This is something that we need to focus on. We need to focus on it now because we can invest a little bit now or pay a lot later. Thank you.
Thank you. Cosmo, can you direct your question to Henry, please?
Sure. Henry, what's your opinion of the current development proposal for the Curtis Park rail yards, and what changes, if any, would you ask for from the current proposal that's coming to the council, and what should be done with the toxic soil that's on the site now?
Okay. Let's start with the first part, the toxic soil. I think the developer should be responsible for moving that soil out of the area. Now, for some reason, if the entire council decides that we can leave some of it there once they get it to a manageable level, if they decide that they want to cap it, I want to see it capped in an area that we can go back and test it. I don't want to see it capped under a permanent structure of concrete, and then there's concerns as to whether or not it's migrating, and then you can't get to it because you'd have to tear up a building or something to get to it. Now, overall, my concern is that you had this developer who, was going to mediation to deal with the people in the neighborhood there, and at the end walked out, and that doesn't leave me happy. I live 8-9 blocks from that area. That project is going to impact traffic. It's going to impact that neighborhood, and I would like to see. I would have liked to have seen this person stay with, mediation and have some type of balanced approach.
Thank you. Patrick?
Yeah, I've been involved with the Curtis Park Rail Yards in one way or another since about 1996 when I served on the Union Pacific Land Use Committee. And and this is an opportunity for the city of Sacramento, an infill opportunity like we don't have, that's not going to come around again. So we really need to get something there that's good for the surrounding neighborhoods. Regarding the toxics, you know, we need to put as much of this toxic as we possibly can under hard surface, not in parks. We need to make sure that there's a monitoring, that there's some severe monitoring by the state, that it's continuous and ongoing. We need to turn up the heat on the developer to make sure that he understands that he's going to be paying for that monitoring, or passing that on to someone other than the neighborhoods and other than the city. And what's most important is that, you know, with my years on the City Planning Commission, I realize and I know how we can make that a positive addition to our neighborhoods by design and use. And when that developer has to come back to us for special permits and any variances, as a city council member, I'm going to hold him to it so that we do something that's good for our neighborhoods for 25 years to 100 years.
Thank you. Jay?
So we have a toxics problem here, and we have a big toxics problem, and we have a law that says that the developer is ultimately responsible for getting rid of the toxics. So I'm not sure why we're not holding him accountable to make sure that the toxics don't get buried under a park or don't get buried under a commercial, but are shipped out of here. That's what I would want to enforce. The developer says UP has too many lawyers. Well, last time I looked, there were plenty of lawyers around, and I think the city should partner with the developer, partner with the neighborhood, and we need to go after the UP, and we need to let the developer do that with our assistance to make sure that we get rid of the toxics, not just bury them. I think this could have been a world-class project. It's going to be a good project, and I've walked Curtis Park now 3 times. I know that people want to have something built there. They're tired of the dirt. They're tired of the safety problems that we have because of the way it looks right now and because the toxics are sitting in piles out there. We need to fix it now, and we need to work with the city as an accountable institution, an oversight institution, to make sure the developer follows through and that UP follows through on the commitments by law that they have.
And Leticia?
Thank you very much. Regarding this, I think it is very important for us to get those lots covered. I think that the neighborhoods, I'm not hostile to the developer, but I think that the neighbors have to have the last say, and they want green areas, and they want walking places, and they want bicycle lanes. I think we should encourage all that. And also, I think we have to give it a sense of urgency, because this project has been taking forever. So these things have to be done, and it's our job as city council to make sure that they're happening and not just leave it into saying it can be done but never do it. So I think we have to have UP take ownership of the problem and clean it up and get those contaminants out of the site. Thank you.
Thank you. Perry, you have the next question. It will go to Patrick, and I'll just warn the candidates that you've probably figured out the order that you have been responding, and now I'm going to be mixing up the order, so stay tuned. So, Perry, if you could direct the question to Patrick.
I have 2, but I'll keep it to 1. My worry is this. I migrated here from San Francisco about 18 years ago now, and the first thing I heard about was K Street Mall. I've continually heard about K Street Mall since then. And there's a couple of questions related to that. Now, should it be modified? Why? Is there some other thing that can be done to make that center of town something else? What about the homeless problem? There's a whole lot of attendant problems with K Street Mall. And to be very honest with you, I am tired of hearing about it. Why can't you fix it?
In a minute. Okay. I actually, am intimately aware. I mean, not only did I grow up, playing on K Street Mall, but I owned a business on K Street Mall for 5 years and finally moved it because of the lack of progress. We need to rethink the entire way that we have our economic strategy in Sacramento, first of all, and I think K Street Mall is a major part of that. Right now, we're tied to this 10, 15-year-old idea that we pay for their city services through builders' fees in Natomas development and residential. What we need to do is we need to put our emphasis on putting more infrastructure down in K Street Mall so that we can actually create a regional draw. Now, a regional draw, I don't think, I'm not an expert, but I don't think a regional draw is ever going to be, I'm supposed to look up there, is ever going to be a mall with 2 anchor tenants. I think that that's outdated, it's not going to work. So we need to get more creative than that and actually create something that will attract people, that will bring the soccer mom from Roseville down to Sacramento to spend her dollars, that will be an addition to the community that we need. But it's going to take boldness, it's going to take, we're going to have to put it on a priority list for the whole region.
Thank you. Henry?
Okay. I think today we've got what we've got, so we've got to work with it. Now, we're in direct competition with West Sacramento. I see them building up over there. So if we don't build down there, the people who live downtown and anybody who wants to shop in that area simply drives across the bridge to a better West Sacramento and spends millions of our tax dollars leak in that direction. And so we also had businesses that have invested there, and I think as a city, you know, we've got to try it again. I don't think it's something that we get to walk away from now. Looking at the plans that have come out, I see them, and some of them want to open up downtown, make it more vibrant, make it a place where people want to come to. And as I say, when I go to cities, the first thing I like to do is go for a jog. If I don't feel safe in that area, you know, I remember that. So we want that to be safe. We want it to be open. We want it to be an attraction for all residents to come spend money. But my big concern is we leak sales tax dollars to West Sacramento, and we need to play for law enforcement here.
Thank you. Leticia?
Yes. Well, I'm tired too. I'm tired too about all this talk and no action. So what we have to do is we have to encourage the businesses, the small businesses, to go into the mall and make a difference, because why tear down buildings that already exist? That's something that happens all the time. Oh, I don't like this, it's not working, let's tear it down, let's spend millions of dollars, make something nicer, and it's empty anyway. So let's use what we have. Let's stop spending money, and let's encourage businesses to go in. I mean, maybe we can give them some motivation to go in and invite people, make more attractive the area. And yes, the homeless, we definitely have to take care of them. And my time's up.
Thank you. Jay?
So K Street is also a personal issue for me. I had a restaurant on the corner of 7th and K from 1984 to 1990. Unfortunately, K Street is worse now than it was when I opened the restaurant in 1984. So that's a problem, and that's despite spending millions and millions of dollars on it. I think what we need to do is bring together the small businesses that are there and bring together some of the best minds that we have. If you look at Midtown is exploding in a very, very good way. It's done without government subsidies. It's done without the city, for that matter. And they've gotten together. So how do we take that entrepreneurial spirit and move it to K Street and get some of those people to help us figure out how to do it? I also think we need to really encourage mixed use. When I was there, we did lunch. We couldn't do dinner because, frankly, at 5 o'clock, as everyone knows, it became a ghost town. I think we have to encourage mixed use, encourage more housing downtown, even provide incentives if we need to get people to move downtown. If we want to truly make it a 24-hour city, that's what it's going to take.
Thank you. Pia, can you direct your question to Henry, please?
Henry, Sacramento is a city of neighborhoods, and your district has 19 of them. Some of them are seriously struggling neighborhoods. You've mentioned Oak Park, South Sacramento. Can you name 1, 2, or 3 things that when you come in as city council member that you will do to help those struggling neighborhoods?
Yes. One of the biggest issues that people face is crime. When you have crime, it runs off business, and one of the other people here mentioned that earlier. People don't feel safe. They don't want to come out and partake. They don't want to move around in a neighborhood that they don't feel safe in. Now, the things that we can do is make sure that the police department doesn't take any more cuts. They're down low enough already. But we have to protect those kids and stop this violence that's ongoing. Again, I want to emphasize, some of our neighborhoods are doing very well. We've got to focus on the ones that are not. Youth programs, I spoke at council, we need an OK Kids type program that has the police department focusing on those kids who are the drivers of this crime, the drivers of the fatherless homes, you know, and we can do that. The Oak Park Foundation that I told you I work with, as I've done that through the Oak Park Foundation, I'm going to be there as a city council member.
Thank you. Leticia.
Yes. The first thing that I have planned is we have to go back to the neighborhood associations and organizations where they are, and where they're not, create them, because it's the neighbors who have the first say. I have to be working with them directly and very closely. Why? Because they are the ones suffering the problems. So like you said, we have different between neighborhoods in our district. So what I plan is a partner with the other neighbors. I mean, it is incredible that you are in a wealthy neighborhood and you just go down the street and it turns awful. Why is this? It shouldn't happen. So we have to partner between the wealthy neighborhoods and the ones that are not, and work with the neighborhood associations so we can all come up to a nice and clean and safe area to live in.
Thank you. Jay.
So having walked all 19 of these neighborhoods over the last 13 months, I've heard a lot from people, and I think there's two ways we have to approach this. At one level, we have to look citywide. We need safety, we need cops in the neighborhoods, we need weed and seed programs, we need neighborhood watches. We also need to do jobs and make sure that people are employed. And finally, youth issues, making sure kids have safe places to be when they're not in school. Then what we need to do is meet, and what I would like to do within 60 days, if I'm elected here, is meet with every neighborhood and come up with the 1 or 2 or 3 things that they feel they need. Each of our neighborhoods is different, and there are citywide things that we can do, but there are specific things to each neighborhood that we should be going at. And so what I'd like to do, again, is meet with each neighborhood association, strengthening where we can, and say, what are the 2 top priorities that you have that we should be working together on over the next 4 years?
Thank you. Patrick.
First of all, crime and public safety is always going to be a paramount interest to all of our neighborhoods. I know that. I've done it. I've worked with pop cops. I've put cops on the street as a neighborhood association president. I've worked with the police department. That's why I have the support of the Sacramento police officers. Second of all, we need to look at what the center of our neighborhoods often are, churches and schools. We need to work better with our church leaders, our religious leaders, and our schools to have those programs that open up those schools and make them community resources like LDV, like Leonardo da Vinci is to the Hollywood Park neighborhood. It's actually a park. We need to do more of that and have joint uses. And finally, our neighborhoods are only as successful as the corridors which surround them. District 5 is a tapestry of these wonderful neighborhoods, and weaving through it are these corridors, Broadway, Franklin Boulevard, Stockton Boulevard, and the like. We need to work better with them, with those small business owners, to help them thrive, because the neighborhood's success is interdependent with their success and vice versa.
Thank you. Cosmo, your question will start with Leticia.
Okay. Leticia, do you believe that the city needs a strong mayor, form of governance as the current mayor has proposed? Do you think we need other charter reforms such as an ethics commission or term limits? And what do you think the appropriate process is, or the appropriate mechanism is for reforming the city charter? Is it a city council decision, or it should be something like a citizens charter commission?
Okay. The first thing I plan to do is work with Kevin Johnson, and I do not agree with the strong mayor initiative, because I think that no one person should have that much power. And it's actually, in a democracy, the citizens are the ones that should have the power to decide. I think the city council has a very important job to do, and it is to represent the people that are that voted for them. So we have to work together with the mayor and make sure that everything that's done, it's done for the benefit of the people and not for the interest of a select elite. Thank you.
Thank you. Jay.
So I opposed the Strong Mayor initiative as put forward by the mayor originally. I thought there were two basic problems. One, there was no process, and we're a community that's based in a strong, long history of neighborhood involvement, community engagement, and also just some of the policy and the content, specifically the city attorney reporting to the mayor and the mayor having control over hiring and firing the city attorney. That just got rid of a check and balance that I don't think you can get rid of. I think what we need is to look for the strongest, most effective, most efficient, accountable city government that we could possibly have. That is going to require some updating of the city charter that we have, and I'd like to see a community conversation about that. I'd love to participate in that, leading to a charter amendment as we go forward.
Thank you. Patrick?
I too oppose the Strong Mayor initiative for all the reasons stated above. I do think that we do have room in our charter, though, for change. 1921 was a long time ago when we wrote that charter, and we need to revisit it, and we need to see where we can be more relevant to the size of a city that we've become. I do think that the mayor could be more accountable and should be more accountable with changes to the charter, and I would support that. However, I do not support putting anything on the ballot before 2012. I think that anything that should be put on the ballot should be done after the term of whoever is sitting in that office has expired. Joe Cern and I used to talk about that a long time. He wanted to see charter change, but he wasn't going to do it until he was out of office because he thought that was the right thing. I thought so then. I agree now. I do think that the best process is through a charter commission. We need to have more public input into it. What was done last time was done with very little public input, and I think that the Charter Commission is much more realistic. There's a better way to go. It's better public policy and giving Sacramentans a voice in their government.
Thank you. And Henry?
Okay, there's time when cities need to change, and not too far back we went to a full-time mayor. I support some changes to the charter and giving the mayor strong mayor powers. I support the idea. But as I said to the mayor and city council, I want some town hall meetings. I want some trade-offs. I want some give and takes for a variety of reasons. Now, if we're going to make changes, then it needs to be done through the committee process and not like the mayor did it. I told the mayor at Chambers, I did not support the first strong mayor. He came back, he limited the number of people that he would have direct control to fire and hire. He wanted to set some term limits in this thing that I did not like, and he wants an ethics panel. So I'd like to see an ethics panel. I don't believe in term limits for council. I'm willing to sit down and talk to this mayor about some give and take on this issue.
Thank you. Perry, could you direct your question to Jay, please?
Jay, I am worried about the budget. And it's gotten much tighter than it has. My question then is this. There's a couple of things going on. First problem I see is, of course, we don't have enough money, but the second problem is the state of California looting the treasuries of all the municipal governments, and slow on the payback, which reduces the cash flow, and if you get the payback, it isn't as much as they took from you. Right now, they're considering taking money from RT, and they already have, as a matter of fact, and they're also considering county road funds as another source. They don't care, they just want the money. Shut up. How would you deal with this?
So I'm going to give you the governor's phone number. And if you'd like to make a call, that would be great.
I'd love to talk to Arnold.
You know, I think that being in Sacramento, we have great opportunity, and we are a leader among the cities in many ways, and having influence in the state capitol is one of those things that we have. Certainly having the Senate Pro Tem being our senator and coming from Sacramento is something that we need to do, need to take advantage of in that. I think bringing all of the cities together and coming to the governor and saying, we can't do this. He's been receptive to that. I'm working and I staff something called the Mayor's Education Roundtable now, where we had the governor with 17 mayors this week for a forum. And he basically said, if you all can get together around an idea, I'll sign that legislation. I think we need to do the same thing around the budget. We need to take leadership in Sacramento, bring the mayors of the major cities and the smaller cities together, come up with a plan about how we do it. What's happened with RT has just decimated us. I think it's hurting people and jobs, and we'll talk about it as we move forward.
Thank you. Patrick?
Yeah, last year, when the governor raided our budget just in SHRA alone, we lost 1,500 jobs in Sacramento. We have to say enough is enough. We need to do a better job of demanding and working with people like the League of Cities to make sure that this doesn't happen anymore. It's probably going to have to be done through legislation. So I would definitely make it a top priority to work with the regional leaders in this area. It can't be done by Sacramento alone. We have to work with the mayors and councils of every city in this region to formulate a legislative plan that will make sure that this doesn't happen again in the future.
Thank you. Henry?
Thank you. Unfortunately, and I should say this, as a law enforcement officer, I understand that we have to yield to the law even when we don't like it, and the current structure gives these guys the right to do this. Now, the League of Cities is a way to form and to lobby against this. I remember Mayor Johnson and some other mayors were already trying to lobby to stop the state from raiding the locals. So the only thing I can say is that I'm on the bandwagon. I want to get in here. Let's be a voice. You have not only the California League of Cities, but you have, I would guess, some national cities, League of the Counties associations that are in the same spot. You raid their coffers, and now we have to cut law enforcement. So I think there just needs to be a groundswell of these local agencies working together to tell the governor, change these issues, change these laws.
Thank you. Leticia?
Yes, definitely. I think I agree with you that we have to work with the other agencies and with the government regarding the well-being of the state and of the cities. We have to look at things from another perspective. We're always trying to blame one another, but we have to work together. And one of the things that I would propose is work with banks, so we can stop the foreclosures that are happening and that are affecting our economy, citywide and statewide. Because if we can work with the government and with the governor and with the banks and get a moratorium on foreclosures, we can still have that revenue of taxes, property taxes coming in, and we will be able to level the losses that we're incurring day by day in government.
Thank you. Pia, for your question, can you direct it to Henry, please?
Henry, how well do you think Sacramento takes advantage of its two riverfronts, and what do you see as the constraints, and what's your vision for the future?
Okay. I think that making downtown more accessible to the riverfronts is something that we need to look at, because when people come here, you want tourists to get to those waterways. And obviously, I think promoting more opportunities to build there in an environmentally sound way so that you have more uses for those, perhaps some more restaurants, certainly walkability and opportunities for, I think, our fishing industry. I've talked to some of my friends that I think want more opportunities to fish there. But I think with that, I'd have to look at the issue some more.
Thank you. And Patrick?
I recently spent a day last week, as a matter of fact, in Portland, where they have waterfronts that they actually haven't squandered. We have spent 20 years talking about riverfront development and redevelopment, and we haven't done it. Now, a lot of it's economy. I realize that. The triangle's been stalled down the southern part of the riverfront. But the fact is that we just haven't made it a priority. We also have to realize that river that sits out there, the one in particular, the Sacramento, has two sides to it, and we need to work better with the city of West Sacramento. I'm happy to have the support and the endorsements of the majority of the West Sacramento City Council, and part of the reason that they support me is because of just that, riverfront development. It's a priority to me, and if Sacramento is ever going to be great and reach its full potential, and we're going to bring in people, we're going to have to seriously look at how we can make that an amenity that not only tourists come to, but also Sacramentans will use.
Thank you. Jay?
It's many cities, right? It's San Antonio, it's even Reno that's taken advantage of, I'm not sure that you can even call it a river, but whatever the waterway that they have, they've done a great job and it's attracting people. I think ultimately we're gonna have to do something about Highway 5. I mean, urban planning has just decimated us in many ways. Highway 5, Highway 99, splitting Oak Park and Curtis Park, those highways, we're going to need to find a way to get over them, under them, around them, to connect downtown to Old Sacramento. And until we do that, I'm afraid that people aren't going to really have access to it. I think looking north from downtown, we've got a lot of opportunity there on the river, and also working with Mayor Cabalden over in West Sacramento to make this a two-way street to get trains going across the bridge, having access from both sides, and really making the river a destination spot. We've talked about things like Second Saturday. Put Second Saturday down on the river. Do things like that where we're bringing people to the river to let them take advantage of one of the great natural amenities that we have.
Thank you. And Leticia.
Yes, this is exactly one of the examples where small businesses can have a good impact. I mean, a great way to help. I studied as a tourist technician, and I think that Sacramento has beautiful sites, including the rivers, that we could take advantage of, and we need to advertise these places. But what I think is, instead of looking for ways to spend to make these places more beautiful, we should encourage businesses that are already there to be able to improve their services. The other day I went to the train ride, and well, it was just like a mile back and forth, and it wasn't encouraging. I went to the boat ride, and I didn't like it either. I think we have to give these businesses a way that they can do a better job and encourage more people to assist and advertise again nationally and internationally.
Thank you. Cosmo, this is the last question, and I'm going to ask our panelists to kind of keep their answers short so we can end at the right time. So could you direct your question to Jay, please?
Sure. Jay, do you support the current convergence proposal for a downtown basketball arena, and what should the city be willing to chip in this process?
So first, I want to be very clear that I don't support any public tax dollars going into this project. I'd love to see an arena built, and if we build a new arena and entertainment complex, I'd like to see it built downtown. I think that will help us downtown. It will bring people downtown. It will create thousands of jobs. All of those are good things for us now and good things for us in the future. I don't see us putting public dollars into that. I think people were very clear with the initiatives Q and R when we had those on the ballot a few years ago. It's a tough one for me. I'm a huge Kings fan since day one. I know at one of the prior ones somebody congratulated Tyreek. I also want to do that on the Rookie of the Year. But I think at this point in time, we are not flush with cash. We need to really get a refocus on our neighborhoods, to support our neighborhoods, to make sure they're strong, because if they're not strong, again, it doesn't really matter what we do on K Street or the rail yards.
Thank you. Henry.
Thank you. I support the concept. I don't want to put any significant amount of public money into it, although I'm not opposed to putting some. What I've said is I want to know up front what the city's commitment to money is, so that we know this. Now, I'd love to see these private investors pull off this three-way land swap and put this thing downtown. I think it's part of that overall development of downtown. It enhances, it works synergistically with K Street and the rivers. But again, I don't want to see the public end up holding the bag with this thing when something's said and done. If it doesn't pan out, how much money will we have pushed out as a city? I'm very concerned about that, and I would hope that the city council members would spell that out to us up front. Let's move forward gung-ho, but please tell us how much money we're putting on the table periodically so we can decide if we want to continue with this process.
Thank you. Leticia.
Yes. I think an arena it's a wonderful venue and very important for the sports and for other entertainment, but I don't think that we need to build one in downtown. I really think that if the Maloofs can spend in buying casinos in Las Vegas, maybe they can build an arena on their own. And I think that we have to take advantage of what we have right now and stop looking for more ways to spend money. We need to encourage businesses and encourage neighborhoods and individuals to go out and and do their part in getting Sacramento to be successful, and not looking into putting an arena where it's going to generate more traffic and issues. So I think we can have the arena where it is and encourage the development of K Street with smaller businesses. Thank you.
Thank you. Patrick?
Yeah, I do support convergence, and I'll tell you why. I absolutely believe that it has to be downtown, and that we should put the entertainment facility downtown near the intermodal transportation network, so that we have public transit that goes to it, so that we can revitalize our downtown. That will kickstart a lot of the development that needs to happen in the rail yards as well as the downtown. So I think it is a good plan if it can be pulled off. I also am extremely excited about the component that no public subsidies, because I do not support public dollars being put into it. The question was, what would we support? Yes, I would support a land swap idea. If the city of Sacramento has the land downtown, that this would actually be a good venue for not only for entertainment and bringing in tax dollars and creating thousands of jobs, permanent and construction jobs for many years to come. I think it's a good investment for the city to utilize the property that they currently own, but no public tax dollars.
Thank you. Now we're going to move to the closing statements part of our forum, and the first closing statement will be given by Henry Harry.
Thank you, and thank the League. The core message of our campaign is accept the challenge of our times. Now, I'm committed for fighting for those people in the forgotten neighborhoods, and I'll leave you with a quote from Robert Kennedy. He says, quote, "Each time a man stands for an ideal or acts to protect a lot of others or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope, and those ripples build a current which can sweep down walls of oppression and resistance." So, out there in the television viewing audience, I'm asking you to stand up with me and to stand up for ideals of justice, to stand up for protecting our kids, and to stand up for improving the conditions of others. And in these tough economic stands as neighbors, I'm asking us to stand together. Thank you.
Thank you. The next closing statement will be provided by Patrick Kennedy.
I was born and raised in Sacramento, the son of a single mother who died when I was 11 years old, and she died of an overdose. I could have been a statistic, but this community made sure I wasn't, and here I am today, a school board member and running for Sacramento City Council, the city I love. I want to take the experiences, I bring that up in my life's experiences because it's that gave me the driving commitment to run for office in the first place. It's that driving commitment that drove me to actually get involved in my communities for the last 20 years, to work in neighborhoods, to work to help people's lives better. That's why I got into this business, and that's why I'm running for city council. I would be honored to have the support of the people of District 5. I will be there for you. I hope you'll be there for me on June the 8th.
Thank you. And now the closing statement from Jay Chenier.
As I started, I said I've run a grassroots campaign for the last 14 months. I've knocked on 13,000 doors. I've probably talked to over 4,000 people. I've met many, many wonderful Sacramentans who want us to succeed. I've also met so many people out of work. I think we need to do something. And what Sacramentans want is an effective, accountable local government. What Sacramentans need are jobs, a city that supports our youth, and a city that supports strong neighborhoods. I've run this grassroots campaign. I'm beholden to no one. I have raised funds from over 400 donors across the board. And what I think is most important here is that we have some individuals on the city council who ask themselves the question every time an issue comes up: is this the right thing to do for the city, regardless of special interests on one side or another? Is this the right thing to do to move the city forward? That's the question that I'm going to ask myself. I have a record of accomplishment that I invite people to look at, and I look forward to June 8th.
Thank you. And our final closing statement will be provided by Leticia Hilbert.
Thank you very much. Again, I want to thank the League of Women Voters for this opportunity. And in all fairness, just let you know that we are 5 runners for District 5, and we don't have Terrence Johnson with us here. But I'm interested in letting you know that I am running for you. If you are interested in being the most important person in City Hall, vote for me, because I make you my priority. And I value family values is one of my stands, and also youth empowerment and working with neighborhoods so we can all together make a change. Let's work for Sacramento, but you being the first person because you have the dignity of being a person. Thank you.
Thank you. On behalf of the League of Women Voters and the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission, I'd like to thank our candidates, Henry Harry, Patrick Kennedy, Jay Chenier, and Leticia Hilbert, and our panelists, Cosmo Garvin, Perry Hartline, and Pia Lopez, and to our volunteers, and to our audience here and at home, thank you for joining us for this candidates forum. The League of Women Voters encourages you to learn as much as you can about the candidates and ballot measures facing California voters on the June 8th ballot. 2 websites that you can check for information are smartvoter.org and the League's website, LWVsacramento.org. The candidate forum will be rebroadcast on Metro Cable Channel 14. You can visit sacramentocable.tv for the schedule. The League of Women Voters is where hands-on work to safeguard democracy leads to civic improvement. Please remember to vote on Tuesday, June 8th, and help make our democracy work. Thank you and good afternoon.